So I was asked a question about ankle strength, and for those of you who have chronic spraining or rolling over of the ankles, and perhaps pain in the ankles or weakness in the ankles, what do you do about that for the long term? So I myself have chronically rolled over my ankles for years and years and years. When I was dancing and playing soccer and all those things, that to the point where my ankles were so weak. And eventually led to me having to have surgery to remove 3 bone spurs. After that surgery, I went through physical therapy and then also continued to rehabilitate on my own because I was still dancing and needing to be strong. So here's a lot of the exercises that I did and still do from time to time because I do still have a little bit of ankle weakness on my right side, which is the leg that I had the surgery on. I also had knee surgery on that same leg, so that leg in particular is very weak. So I do keep up with a lot of this physical therapy work to maintain and increase the strength on that side. So I'm going to go through some of these exercises and hopefully they will help some of you out. Okay, so we're going to start really simple, and I'm going to go through some things with TheraBand, but also some standing work and work that you can do on the Bosu. So I'm going to start super simple with just some ankle movement that's going to help. So let me tilt this down so you can see my feet. Great. Okay, so making sure that you are holding on to something for balance. It's really important to work in 2 foot positions, both parallel and externally rotated. Now, because we want to make sure that we're hitting the muscles in the calves, so we have your gastrocnemius, which is this larger 2-part muscle here, and the soleus muscles, which are on the medial lateral sides of the leg. And we also want to make sure that we're strengthening your anterior tibialis, which is when you flex your foot, this muscle up the front side of your shin. So working in these 2 positions is going to make sure that we target all of those muscle groups. So the first thing that I do, and I always work bilaterally, even though it is just one side that's weak, you want to make sure both sides are getting the same kind of work and strength. Obviously with the weaker leg, sorry I'm cut off. Obviously with the weaker leg, you want to do a little bit more work so that you are building strength in that as well as trying to balance on the other side. So first things first, we're going to go rolling through the foot. So pressing up onto the ball of the foot. I'm going to turn this way so you can see. Making sure that you're spreading all 5 toes on the floor. Now most of us tend to either supinate the foot, which sends the weight out to the pinky toe, or pronate the foot, which means that you're bringing your weight onto the big toe and off of your pinky. What you want to make sure is that you're working on all 5 toes equally, spreading the weight between the entire ball of the foot. So rolling through the foot. And I'll face this way, although I would want you to hang on to something for balance. This is what I want you to do. You're going to just start by pressing up onto the ball of the foot. So you're pushing into the ankle and then putting the foot down and then flexing the foot. Rolling through and flexing the foot. Rolling through and flexing the foot. And you'll do about 10 of these on this side and then 10 on the other foot. I'm just going to demonstrate with my right leg for today, but make sure that you're doing equally on both sides. Roll. Good. And then what you'll want to do is press up onto the foot. Now I have both feet down, but most of my weight's on my right leg. And then down. Rising up onto the ball of the foot and down. And you can tell if I turn to the back, you can see that it's my gastrocnemius and soleus that are getting the work when I rise up onto the ball of my foot. Good, and the idea obviously is to go up without the ankle wobbling. So we want to go up very slowly, rolling through all 5 toes and then down and up and down. Again, about 10 times because your calf is going to get pretty tired. And then going onto the heel, putting it down. Onto the heel, putting it down. Heel, down, heel, down. Obviously when I do that, you can see it's the anterior tib, working. Good. And this is going to strengthen all the muscles up in the ankle joint as well as up into the leg front and back side. Okay, so then you do the same thing with your foot rotated. Here, again, the difficult part is not to go onto the toe, big toe or the pinky toe, but you want to make sure that you're doing the same exercise. There. because it's going to target a little bit of a different area. And also strengthen the inner and outer thighs, which help to stabilize the knee, which helps to stabilize the ankle. Remember, this is a nice big long system of muscles that and interconnections. And we want to make sure that we're strengthening the whole system. Good, and then you go heel and toe, and heel, and toe, and heel, and toe. About 10 times with that. And then rising up and down. Rising up. Okay, notice all my weight's on this foot. Up and down. And the hard part is not going over to the big toe or to the pinky toe. I tend to supinate. So, good at about 10 of those. Then, bringing the feet back to parallel. Bending the knees. Now, I had a little knee injury today, so I'm going to be careful to put all my weight only on this leg. We're going to rise up onto the toe there with the knee bent. It just changes the musculature a little bit, brings your glutes into it, your quads into it a little bit more. And again, you can rise on both, just like that. Good. Just changes the angle of your ankle, challenges the Achilles tendons in a little bit of a different way, and also the muscles in the ankle joint. Good. And then do the same thing in rotation. Again, about 10 times. And then just bending and stretching the legs, trying to keep the weight equally distributed. So these are little plies. Make sure the weight is equally distributed between 10 toes and your heels. Yeah, in both that position and a rotation position. Yeah, so we have parallel. Making sure the knees are going in the same direction as your toes. Now notice I spread my toes out wide. I have very wide feet. Some of you with narrow feet might have a more difficult time with the spreading of the toes. And then also when you rotate outward, make sure weight's on all of your toes and both of your heels. Down and up, down and up. And you can also do your little heel raises here. As you can see, works the adductors and the abductors. And obviously, you can see here clearly the gastrocnemius working. And you can also see here my soleus working. Yeah, good. So those are some standing exercises that you can do. Now, in a lot of physical therapy offices, they have these wooden boards. They're either circular with a round ball underneath or square with a round ball or a long curved wooden piece under the bottom, and that's called a wobble board. So a wobble board will either move in 2 directions or it'll move in a circumduction, so it'll be round and move in 360-degree motion. I don't have that here, but I do have a Bosu, so I can sort of give you an idea of what to do with that. So I'm going to tilt this down. Sorry, I just have to look at my feet. So anyway, obviously, if you have a weak ankle, balancing on one leg is going to be difficult. So you would want to start by just figuring out your balance on one leg. Obviously, standing against the wall first is going to help. Making sure the weight is evenly distributed between your 5 toes and the heel. Finding that balance is of utmost importance before you get on any sort of unstable element. Okay, so finding that balance. And you can even see, I don't know how clearly you can see it, but my ankle is still a little unstable and I'm getting this wobbling, which is my anterior tib is working and my gastroc and my soleus are all working to try and stabilize that ankle. So that's what's going to happen when I get up on the balance element. So once I step up onto the Bosu, I'm going to start with 1 foot on the floor and 1 foot on. And again, you're going to kind of rock back onto the heel and forward to the toes. So we're, again, challenging the muscles in the ankle, shin, calf, knee, and even up into the quads and hips and hamstrings. All of it is important because they're all working as a unit. Good. And then you can actually circle, kind of going in towards the toe, out to the pinky, back to the heel, 360 degrees, and then around in the opposite direction with the foot. It's a little easier on a wobble board because it's going to be a smaller ball underneath, so you have less full leg movement. You'll be able to isolate your ankle a little bit more, but those are some things you want to do. Then once you feel comfortable standing on one leg, obviously on the ground first, then you would go up, and I'm going to hold on to the wall here. Actually, I'll face this direction for you. And you would just try to stand on the balance element and releasing your hands from wherever you're holding. And you can see even me, I'm having a little bit of a balance check issue today where my ankle is needing to stabilize, so all of the muscles around my leg are working together to stabilize that BOSU. And once I get there, I can feel all those muscles firing up. So let me face you again so you can see what's happening here. See the spread of my toes. The weight is back into my heel. I'm watching that I'm not turned out or internally rotated. You want to be nice and square on this. And then eventually, yes, you'll do some externally rotated work. But for now, then you would get up on the ball and just try to find that stabilization. Now, a lot of it comes from core strength, yes, but without a stable ankle and stable leg muscles, this would be impossible. So you've got to build up to that. Now, how do you build up to that? Besides all the standing work, there's work that we can do with a TheraBand. So, sitting down, now you can sit on a mat, on the floor, on a chair, whatever works for you. You'll get a TheraBand. This is like a medium resistance level band. You can get them in any sort of resistance level that works for you or that you can get your hands on. But these are some exercises that I do, have done, and always recommend to my clients who have weak ankles or have a tendency to roll or sprain the ankles out. So you take the band and spread it around the ball of your foot and hold on to the two ends with your hands. Now this is the position I'm comfortable in sitting to do this work. Obviously you can have the other leg straight forward, but today I'm here. So you would hold on to the band and judge your resistance based on your strength. And first you can see what I'm doing here is I'm stretching that Achilles tendon. So I'm actually pulling my toes back towards me. And again, I'm thinking about keeping the weight equally distributed between all 5 toes. So I'm not really pulling my pinky in or my big toe in. All 5 are coming towards me. Good. Breathing there. You want to get that nice stretch. And then you want to point the ball of the foot down. Okay? And get that stretch here in your anterior tibialis. Okay? Then you want to continue with that, pointing and flexing of the foot. I'm going to wrap that around my toes a little bit more. This band is a little bit thin, so it's not quite going around my whole foot. But anyway, you would flex the foot and point the foot. Again, making sure that the big toe is in line with your shin, and all 5 toes are pointing towards you as they come back into flexion or dorsiflexion. Good. Pointing and flexing the foot, obviously there, same thing as when you're standing, you can see soleus and gastrocnemius are all engaging. Those are the main muscles that we want to strengthen along with that anterior tibialis. So this works. Then you want to do your circles for the ankle. Now, if you don't have a band and you cannot get one, they're relatively inexpensive, but you know, if you can't get your hands on one quickly and you're like, oh, my ankles, you can do this without the band. Just do circles and pointing, flexing. You're getting something from that as well. Just adding the resistance is going to help to build the strength in those muscles, not just mobility. Good, so I have my pointing and flexing and my 360-degree ankle circles in both directions. Then you want to work on, eversion and inversion. So bringing the toe in and then bringing the pinky toe out. Let me point my foot at you so you can see what I'm doing here exactly. So you want to bring the big toe in and then wing the pinky toe out. In and out. And trying to do that without moving the rest of your leg. So you don't want your whole leg moving. Keeping your hips stable, you're just moving in the ankle joint. And you can do that with a flexed foot and with a pointed foot. Okay, let me show you from the side here. Pointed foot doing the inversion and eversion. Okay, so those are all really important. Now, if you get tired of holding it, you can always attach this to like a really stable surface and do that work as well. So those are some of the main exercises that I've done in physical therapy to strengthen up my ankle, which again, like I said, I had surgery on that several years ago. Most important things that you want to focus on are getting that balance on one leg. If you feel uncomfortable balancing on one leg, you've got to build up that strength because that's the key to it all. I mean, if you're walking and you suddenly roll your ankle over, that's because your foot is not stable on the ground. So if you're a runner, for example, and you have a problem with chronically spraining the ankles, either your footwear isn't appropriate for the shape of your foot or how your gait is and how the foot falls on the ground, which could be causing you to roll your ankles, or perhaps you're wearing barefoot running sneakers and you're running trails and you're hitting rocks and you need to have trail runners. Things like that are super important to check. But then other than that, I think it's really important for anybody who's into fitness and into exercising that has weakness in their joints like that, whether it's the ankles, knees, hips, whatever, that you focus on some of this simple work to strengthen those little areas in the joints that are going to be less stable. So hopefully this helps you out a little bit. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask. Like I said, I have lots of experience with spraining ankles. So thanks a lot.